heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
And, of course, that was Madeleine Albright on 60 Minutes saying that she thought that it was worth it, that 500,000 children in the Middle East died because of the U.S. government's employees' sanctions. This is Let's Think, and we are back and ready to dive into means versus ends, or the end. So what do we mean by this? What we mean is that, we hear this common phrase that the ends justify the means. And some people believe that. If, for example, you believe that collateral damage is an acceptable thing, as long as it's kept reasonable, then you are probably a person that holds the value of the ends justifying the means. If, on the other hand, you believe that that is a bunch of crap, and that, in fact, the means are what matters, what we do every single day, that is what really, truly matters, then perhaps you believe deeply what it was that Gandhi once said. Gandhi's quote was, "If one takes care of the means, the end will take care of itself." And that is, I love that. That's a beautiful quote. Now, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. Gandhi did things, said things, and did things based on his brilliant tactical mindset. So not everything that somebody says, as we know, is necessarily what they believe. Sometimes people will say things because it is tactically a wise thing to do. So in Gandhi's example, he didn't have enough guns and soldiers to defeat what he saw as tyranny, using guns and soldiers and such. So that would have been one tactic. Another tactic would have been mass suicide. Another tactic would have been nonviolent resistance, which is what he chose. However, he definitely made it clear that it was not necessarily his lifelong only goal, but that it was, in fact, a tactic. So that's just a little tangent on that. But I'm going to go back and just pretend that didn't happen. And say that, he really did believe that. You know who really believed it? My mentor, Carl Watner, who founded The Voluntaryist, the longest-running libertarian newsletter, and you can find that at voluntaryist.com. Carl believed this. On all of his newsletters, he included that as the master quote. If one takes care of the means, the end will take care of itself. And for Carl, and for many Stoics of old, the journey, the means, that's what was important. It wasn't getting there to the destination. That wasn't the arrival, wasn't the big moment. It was doing what's right every day. And so I think about that in my own life. And when I'm faced with something, I get to make a decision. Do I make that decision based on what I want to have happen in the end, or do I make the decision of what is right based on what is right to do right now, based on what I know? What is the right thing to do? And those things are frequently different. It'll create different actions if you're working toward the ends versus if you're working toward the means. Now, I'm not saying that the means are all that we care about. I'm a businessman, so of course I say this is our annual goal. This is what we want to have happen, and then the people that work with me kind of decide the best way to get there. And I set some parameters, and then they work within those parameters. If they want to work with me, they work within those parameters, and we go toward that goal. However, our means of doing that must also be pure and be good. And so if we ask ourselves at any given moment, is this the right thing to do? And if we decide, yeah, this is the right thing to do, but we're probably, based on my predictions, we're probably not going to end up with the end that we wanted? Well, some people would say that their highest value is living by the means, doing what is right every moment, and that it isn't the destination. It's not that big moment. You go on a road trip with a couple people you love dearly, and you have these wonderful adventures on the way, and you do have a destination point. You plan to get to Springfield or whatever to see Homer and the guys, but it wasn't really arriving in Springfield and meeting Homer. That's not what the road trip was about. The road trip was about spending time with people and that you care about, and having adventures and experiences, and having problems that you have to work through. It's the journey that is important. And for the Stoic, for some people that adhere to Stoicism, and even not all the Stoics would even agree with this, but the idea was, let's do what's right now, and we're not going to measure our success by the end. What happens in the end? That's not what we're measuring our success by. We're measuring our success by, did we do what was right today, this moment? And I have had dilemmas, challenges pop up, and I have had to look at this and decide what is the right thing to do. And it's not always easy. It's not always the thing that I predict will give us the greatest result in the end. But if I'm not shooting for the end, if I'm shooting for the means, well, then I'm doing the right thing. So then I'll ask you, which of those is your higher value? Do you say, well, no, we need to take that hill, and we're going to send our soldiers up there to do it, and if there are a bunch of babies in the way, they can cut their heads off because we need to take that hill? Well, I guess I shouldn't. Well, yeah, I am going to pass a value judgment. That kind of sucks. That seems to me like that isn't a very good or pure or wholesome or moral viewpoint or goal. I think the value of saying we would like to get up to the top of that hill, and on the way, we're going to do everything properly and morally and acceptably. And the little sound clip we heard of Madeline at the beginning, she clearly didn't agree with that at the moment. She later retracted that statement. But at the moment when she said that, and her view is shared by many, it was worth it. 500,000 little brown people dead, but it was worth it. Because, we did what we had to do, and it's worth it to kill kids, in certain circumstances. I don't know. What do you think? This is not a preachy moment for me to tell you what is right or wrong. It's my goal here to encourage you to examine that for yourself. What do you think? Are you a means person or are you an end person? And I would suggest, let's say that you're a means person. The ends justify the means, so we'll do whatever we have to do to get where we need to go. If you are that person and you're having a conversation with a voluntarist, or anybody who is a person that believes that the means are more important, then you're going to have a pretty big bit of contention there. And you're not going to get to the same conclusion when you discuss little topics. And let's take what's going on right now. Right now, we're in the midst of this, who knows? I'm saying midst. We could be at the beginning of it. We could be at the end of it. Who knows? Things social, including tyranny, are complex problems, and you never know which way they're going to bounce and go. But right now, we are in a month, 6, 7, something like that, of the response of 2020. The panic of 2020. And there was a virus, and the government became quite excited about it. At least that's what we all thought. And they wanted to protect us all because that's what governments care about. Government employees really want to save the rest of it. That's rest of us. That's why they exist. That's why they wake up in the morning, wipe a little tear of passionate benevolence out of their eye, and then approach the day. Well, of course, I'm being facetious. We know that that's not what the government really truly cares about. But let's look at the mask issue. Wearing masks. Is that an end or is it a mean? Which is more important? So let's say that the person, a person, wanted to make sure that no human being transmitted a virus to any other human being. That's the end. That's the goal. And they don't care what the means are to accomplish that. Well, then it would make complete sense to use law, which laws are basically threats of force if you don't do what somebody says, to use this threat of force, to use force to make people put on face diapers in order to protect other people from getting a virus. That would definitely be somebody who believed in the ends and not the means. A person that believed in the means would say, well, we don't get to tell other people what to do, what to wear, what protective devices to wear around them. We can't preemptively strike against someone that we think might create a risk, even if we have, especially if we have no proof that that person is a carrier of a virus. So that person would say, no, we can't force other people to do things. Those are wrong means. That's immoral. That's anti-human. That's bad. We can't do that. Well, that's why we have a big mess going on right now between the tyrants, or I'm not going to call them tyrants. I'm going to call them health departments and Karens. We're having a big challenge between them and normal people who want to go about living their life, taking care of their family, being polite to others if asked, but making their own choices. These are different values, aren't they? And when I say being polite if asked, I mean, if somebody asks you or me nicely, hey, will you wear a mask when you're around me? My mom has a compromised immune system, and I'd appreciate it if you did that. Well, then, of course, I would love to. I'm all about doing what's right at the moment. That's the means, isn't it? That's doing what's right at the moment. It's not about the ends and violating other people's rights.